Okay. All right. Let's get this started.
Welcome to Faith and Vision Live. The show will begin in 1 minute. Welcome to Faith and Vision Live. The show will begin in 30 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's begin.
All right. Yeah. So, looking at that intro, I think it turned out okay, except for the fact that um, on the uh, on the Instagram screen it doesn't quite fit. So I may have to see what I can do to fix that. But yeah. So Finesse Angler 4, what is up? Thank you for joining us. Um, Welcome to Faith and Fishing Live. If you are listening on the podcast, thank you so much, and glad that you're listening and looking forward to another great live show. So, before we get started, I just want to say a quick thank you to the sponsors. Jade's Jigs, you can see them there on the hat. Um, and Savior Outdoors. So I'm going to say a quick thing about Savior. I just happen to have a couple Savior devices here. They just needed to replace a couple of mine. So if you're not familiar with Savior Outdoors, what they make are these little devices. You take the cork or the foam off of your rod, the butt of your rod, and attach that to it. And it's super easy. Um, what happens is there is a pressure sensitive filter. I don't know if I can get it out there. So there is a pressure sensitive filter there. Whenever water pressure builds up, either from depth or whatever, it pushes water in. It dissolves a salt bobbin, which a spring pushes this float up. That float goes up to the top, and you can find it. Get your rod back. They make them for fishing rods. This is a split grip. They have the full handle as well, um, and then they have like the black one that fit that works there too. Um, then they also make ones for bow fishing bows, action cams like your GoPros and stuff, and more. So they have one that clips on with a carabiner or split ring key ring to whatever it is that you want them up there. Um, Also, Mr. B Lure Company, awesome jigs, and uh, um, Atollis. They have the sunglass retainers that float in case you drop your sunglasses in the water. They are fantastic. Um, let's see who else. Quail Ridge Books, shop Get Outdoors, Pedal and Paddle, or Get Outdoors over in Greensboro, North Carolina. Um, and let's see, that's Savior, Get Outdoors, Atollis, Mr. Mueller Company, Jay's Jigs. That's all of them. All right. So, um, be sure to, if there are any topics that you want to hear about, um, let me know. Drop them in the comments, or just uh, send them a message to me if you don't end up being able to make it tonight. If you're listening on the podcast, I want to hear your topics too. But to get started off, Nicholas Beltran from Tackle Fishing Adventures suggested that we talk about the most important things to make sure that you are bringing on your kayak or your boat. So number one, a PFD. It's got to be a life jacket of some sort. Personally, I'm not a fan of the self-inflatable or the automatic inflatables, but that's just a personal preference thing, and a trust thing. I want to be able to trust my gear, and I want to know that I don't have to wait on anything to inflate. I just want it to work right away. So a really good PFD. Mine is the NRS Chinook. I love that thing. Um, the other thing is the next big thing is propulsion. So if you're in a kayak, that means your paddle, your pedals, your trolling motor. If that's on a boat, that means that your motor and your battery and your fuel, all of that stuff is ready to go. Um, then on a kayak, definitely seat. Recently, I had a photo shoot done, and I did not bring my seat. I saw off the hook jigs showed up. Really glad to see you. Um, and yeah, so I forgot my seat for that photo shoot, and I ended up with bruises on my rear end. Man, it was painful. It was the most uncomfortable I've been in a very long time, if not ever. Um, let's see what else. Obviously, your tackle, your fishing rods and your gear. Water. Water is huge. Make sure that you've got something to drink. I'm not good at stopping what I'm doing to drink water all the time, but it's something I'm getting better at. But definitely make sure that you've got something to drink. Stay hydrated out there, especially in the summertime. And I'm gonna have some right now. Um, but especially in the summertime, whenever it gets hot, I know down here in North Carolina, down in Florida where Nicholas is, he's in Miami. I don't even know what heat is compared to what he goes through in the summertime. So yeah, water is another big one. What else? If you have things that you want to throw out there, drop them in the show or drop them in the comments. I want to see what your number one things to remember are. Um, got a helicopter going over. Um, let's see, what are the other big things? Your some of the little stuff is like your oh, I know, pliers, and split ring pliers. If the worst should happen and you end up with a hook in your finger or in your arm or somewhere, you want to be able to take that hook off of the lure, um, with those split ring pliers, and then hopefully you'll be able to get the hook out from there without a trip to the emergency room. But you know, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But either way, split ring pliers are huge, and pliers just to if you end up with a toothy critter on the line and you need to it choke that hook down deep, you that's a big one. Um, let's see what else. Speaking of getting hook stuck in you, a first aid kit. First aid kit is also big. So I know I end up with cuts all over me a lot of times just from paddling through briars and stuff. I end up cutting my hands on the fishing line sometimes, fishing hooks, toothy critters, all that good stuff. So make sure you've got a first aid kit handy, And whenever I say handy, I don't mean, way up at the front of the boat where you'll never reach it. Uh, at least have something close by that you can grab really easily. Let's see. Yeah, again, if y'all have stuff for me, drop them down in the comments. I want to see what y'all want to make sure you don't leave without. Um, I'm thinking about stuff that I've left before. Um, for your kayak, a cart. Um, if you're going to be hauling your kayak from a decent length, that's another thing I forgot on that photo shoot. So those are important. They're not always important. They're not important at every body of water, but a lot of places they are. So um, yeah, that might be it. Um, I'm sure I'll think of something at some point, but yeah. So let's uh let's jump into let's jump into the faith side of things a little bit. I know on the last Faith and Fishing Live, we didn't really jump into that, and I told y'all we would. So let's jump into the faith side of things a little bit. I want to talk about something that's kind of important to me. Um, Let me get prepared for it there. I want to talk about something that's important to me, something I've noticed a lot of, and that's how do we put this? Let's call it enemy culture. So in the church, so I am a Christian, and in the Christian church, there has been a this kind of warrior culture, enemy culture, whatever you want to call it, where um, there for a while, especially late '90s, early 2000s. I know it started before then, but that's whenever it got really big. I would say right after 9/11, um, where we were taught in church that we needed to be warriors, fighting this war against the world that we're in, and I have at the time I was all in it. I was all for it. And the older I get, the more I learn, the less I'm okay with that culture. So I think the best example that I can think of right off the top of my head is the movie God's Not Dead. So this movie was had, from a cinematic standpoint, let's not kid ourselves, it was a terrible movie. But from a Christian standpoint, people loved it. And I'll be honest, it was not for me. I did not enjoy it even a little bit. And one of the main things that I got from it was this culture of who is your enemy, and who are we battling against. And in this movie, you can ask who are the villains of this movie. The villains of this movie are the atheist teacher, the I think there was a boyfriend of somebody who was also atheist or agnostic or something like that. They were one of the villains. The Muslim dad. These were the villains of the movie. And whenever you read the Bible, especially the New Testament, there are enemies of Israel. There are enemies um, of a particular character. But as Christians, we are called to have one enemy, and that is Satan. And whenever we make people our enemy, now we're no longer people of love, right? So we are. Jesus said to his disciples that they will know you are my followers because of the way you love each other and other people, and the way you love others. So, um, uh, there were 10 commandments given. Jesus uh, Jesus narrowed them down to two. He said, "Love God with all that you have, all that you are, and love others as much as you love yourself." Um, and we have gotten away from that as Christians, I think. So we have developed this culture of we are at war with everybody who's not like us, and um, we have enemies who are everyone who is not like us. If you do not believe exactly the same thing as me, you are my enemy. And that just it doesn't sit well with me. I am not I'm not all for this. Because you know you look at who Jesus spent time with. You look at um, you know it was it was people like Zacchaeus. We as Christians we have this idea that we're on a pedestal. We put ourselves above others a lot. Um, we look down on others. We judge them. Um, we and we just have this air about us that it puts off pretty much anything except love, right? So yeah, the this enemy culture, this this where you're literally told said things like we need to be warriors instead of wusses, as if loving somebody was the behavior of a wuss. Um, it's it's just not it's just not what Jesus taught. He took people who, um, like I said, Zacchaeus. He was kind of scum of the earth, right? He was stealing from his people and giving that money, uh, with the exception of what he cut off for himself. He was giving that money to Rome, the people who had taken over his people. Um, and Jesus came up and said, "Hey, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house for dinner. Go ahead and come down from the tree." 'Cause, Zacchaeus was short. He climbed up into the tree so he could see everybody. Said, "Come on down. Let's go to your house for dinner. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna spend some time together." The woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. The Samaritans were enemies of the Jews in that um, they were different than the Jews. They had different beliefs. They were not the Jews were on that pedestal, kind of like what I was talking about. So we have um, this view of we are just kind of rambling here, but I think you know what I'm getting at. We are Yes, we are called to be different than the world, but we are not called to battle the world in terms of um, we are not called to make the world our enemy. We are called to love the world. The people of the world, I guess I should say. We are called to we are called to be examples to the world. We are not called to conquer the world. Um, I don't think, uh, Clayton, what is up, man? I am talking about some enemy culture and warrior culture in the Christian church. And if you've got topics you want to hear about, drop them in the comments. Glad you joined us. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at on that. I feel I feel instead of being conquerors that are trying to um, that are at war with everybody who's different than us. Um, we should love. We should be examples. We should show somebody what it is to love another. We should yeah, we should enjoy each other's company. We should um, if somebody doesn't believe the exact same thing we do, that's okay. Now, of course, if you really do love people, and you believe that what we do here on this earth has eternal consequences, of course, you want them to develop that relationship with Jesus that is going to, get them into heaven, into paradise instead of instead of hell. I mean, of course we want that. But we are not we are not conquerors. We are not coming in and forcing people to believe what we believe or else. And that's kind of what we have. The culture we have created is either either you are exactly like me or you are my enemy. And I guess that's what I don't really that's 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 what I don't really stand by, is that kind of that kind of culture. But yeah, so I rambled a lot there, and I was I talked in circles a little bit. I'm still new to this live thing. Um, so yeah, hopefully somebody got something out of that. And hopefully it didn't just come across as, somebody on their soapbox just kind of ranting a little bit. Um but yeah, so um I did not end up with any other real you know any other topics from y'all this time. So um that would love to end on a little bit happier note. I have not gotten a lot of fishing done lately, but we did have our first event. It was our warm up event with Central Carolina kayak fishing. I did not get to fish it, but I did want to say I really enjoyed. Um, I really enjoyed getting to pray with the guys like the night before and the morning of the tournament, and praying for all the anglers. That was really awesome. That was pretty powerful for me. And yeah, that ended up they were on Jordan, and let's see. Let me see if I can pull up that leaderboard. I know that it was know that Paul Roberts at Paul Heels on Instagram ended up with a really monster bass. I think it was around 8 pounds. It was 23 and a quarter inch bass. And because of that, with two bass, he finished second. And I am trying to find the the winner here. I think I'm almost there. Yeah, so number 3 was Jeremy Way with 37 and 3/4 inches. Number 2 was Paul Roberts, 41.5 inches, and number 1 was Craig Noss at 63 and a quarter inches. So that was a pretty awesome tournament. I think it ended up being kind of rough weather wise, but they stuck it out and made it happen. And the next tournament is one that I am going to be fishing, and I'm really looking forward to it. It is March 12th on Harris, and that is the kind of actual season opener where it actually counts for Angler of the Year points and all that stuff. So, um, really looking forward to that. And that is going to do it for this episode. Again, I want to thank sponsors Jade's Jigs, Save Your Outdoors, Atolus, Get Outdoors, Pedal and Paddle, um, Mr. B Lure Company, and Quail Ridge Books. And so, uh, if you are wanting some discount codes for Jade's Jigs, it is FNF10. Um, Save Your Outdoors, it's FNFP15. Um, Atolus, Faith and Fish 15. And Mr. B Lure Company, Faith and Fishing Pod 1X10, and that'll get you 10% off your first purchase. All right, so that is going to do it. Hopefully, you enjoy this episode. These lives will get better and better as we go, as I get more comfortable with them, and as we get more topics to talk about. So, um, uh, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Y'all take care, and God bless.